Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Solis webinar, Solis String Inverters Powering More Large-Scale Sites in Canada. Just a few quick items before we get going today for any newcomers. So during the webinar, all attendees will be muted for best audio quality. If
Mhm.
you have any questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to type in your questions. Those questions will be monitored and answered towards the end of the presentation. This presentation will be recorded and shared with all of you within 1 week of today's session. And it is my pleasure to welcome Terrence Parker, today's presenter from Solis. With a
Okay.
career in renewable energy spanning almost 34 years, Terrence has seen the solar industry expand from small PV lighting systems in remote locations to multi-megawatt urban PV sites
Mhm.
connected directly to the utility grid. He has been working with the PV string inverter manufacturing, applications engineering, and compliance since 2010. Terrence is a founding member of the Solis North American team, where he has worked for the past 9 years as the Compliance and Applications Engineering Manager. So, without further ado, I will pass it over to you, Terrence, to get us started.
Hey, thanks, Tatum. It's really my pleasure to be here with everybody. We're big supporters of Charge, and actually, I was just up in Ontario visiting with the team up there and doing some training. And well, I'm looking forward to talking today a little bit about our commercial offer. It's quite popular actually in Canada, and a lot of the folks on this call may already be familiar with these inverters. I really want to get into it a little bit today and talk about some of the other value propositions that may be maybe helping you sell these systems going forward. Let's get into it. I'll turn off my camera for now, but I'll be back at the end of the show to kind of give you just a face to talk to and ask questions to. Um, so, we'll get into a little bit of, how we're organized here in North America, and then we'll talk about our commercial industrial inverters and kind of how we might be able to use those in different ways, different customer use cases, that sort of thing. And we have, of course, a line for rooftop and, at 480 and 208, but we also have a whole group of inverters at 1500 volts. And these are very popular in Canada. We'll talk in detail about that. And then, of course, SolisCloud. SolisCloud is a way for you to monitor all of these systems, to form an organization and sub-organizations to manage fleets in your company. Uh, it's a bankable company. It's a public company. We can claim we're number 3 in the world as far as inverter shipments go. So it's a going concern, and we've been spending a lot of our money lately on factory growth. We're over. I think we've eclipsed 80 gigawatts now, and heading towards 100 gigawatt capability by the end of the year. We opened up a new factory in Vietnam. We incidentally went public in 2019. That's really when we started promoting that Solis brand name. We've done quite a bit of white labeling in Canada and the United States. We white label CSI for many, many years. And others like Sunrun and Fortress and other companies. It's a reliable product, and others feel comfortable white labeling it. It's a 4,500 employees, and we got a lot in our R&D team. Of course, we are the factory. We own the patents and the machinery that makes the boards, these sorts of things. We did recently open up a new factory in Vietnam, as I said, and in over 900 million in 2023. We'll eclipse the 1 billion mark in revenue this year for sure. And this is our factory. This is our newest factory. If you wanted to fly into Shanghai, we could pick you up there and take you around the bay and take you on a little tour of our factory. You'll find a Starbucks in there, but also see the robotics that we utilize to make our product. And we only make one product there. We just make the inverters. And Interestingly, I think this factory will test every inverter before it gets boxed. That is, there's a room where we stack these up and run them at 100% in a 44C room, just to make sure that we're capturing any inverter that might not have fired up right away on site. So it's a good way to um, just guarantee our customers that you're going to get a reliable product when you open the box. And um, a lot of it has to do with our ability to trace our quality right down to the component level. We have a lot of relationships with manufacturers around the world of these components, and we're quite proud to use them. We experienced in 2023, actually, we had a shortage of the Infineon IGBTs, and they're the best in the world, we think. And actually, this affected some of our supply into Canada of the popular 185K inverter. And so, but our company really felt like we couldn't put in a second rate type. We really wanted to stick with what we had, and we were able to work out that supply chain issue and stick with our favorite components. Um, it's this dedication to simplicity and quality that allows us to accompany a third party evaluator, well known globally, DNVGL, and they gave us an interesting quote in that report, that the inverters could actually reach a 25-year lifespan. And we actually considered, Jason, we actually considered putting a 25-year warranty on our inverter. It would be more expensive, of course, but it's something that this report gave us a little confidence in. And maybe if your team has any need to convince a financier that maybe this company Solis is something they would like to invest in, maybe this report would be something we could pass on to you, and for them to kind of get a good idea of who we are globally. In North America, we formed a full service team. As Tatum noted, I was one of the founding members in 2016 of a small team, 5 individuals at the time, and now we have over 45 individuals. That's our founder right there in the middle, Jimmy, and I work for Igor there, Mogilevsky, our product manager for our North American product. It's really a great team to work for. We have every office, really. We got product managers as well as a general manager, lawyers and accountants, a full boat of folks here, over half of which are on our service team. And so we're kind of proud of that service team, as we considered a tier 1 service team. Every call gets logged into our CRM system. We can get to most of it within an hour, really, because there's only 29 error codes. And so our team really knows the 3 or 4 that are immediate RMAs, and the 3 or 4 that require, you watch a video, maybe a few that need to get escalated. And we have a team that can go out there and help you in not only commissioning, but also in troubleshooting some system where we might have some inverter issue, and our team wants to get on that right away. So with native Spanish speakers and really quite a bit of services that our new team can provide, I think you'll find good support there. So let's take a look at the product. Product ranges from small little 30K at 208 all the way up to our new 350 at 800 volts. So it's really quite interesting what you can do with these systems now. I like to call it a platform that can really get into using MLPE, module level power electronics, to optimize or gain insight into module level, statistics, these sorts of things. These new kind of entrepreneurial companies that are getting into the industry now are offering these new module level power electronics that can be added to PV string inverters, can make, maybe make the sale possibly. 480 volt AC product is very popular here, of course, in the United States. It's the main connection voltage, whereas 600 volts is common in Canada. And so our 125 and 185 inverters are just really appropriate for quick install without a secondary transformer, these sorts of things. If cost effective, I think, and we're seeing a lot of folks utilize these inverters, which indeed only are down to minus 30C, but in many cases can be used across Canada. Of course, 1500 volts being allowed on rooftops in Canada really make this product popular, with native AFCI and easy hookup, and kind of the ability to really kind of set it up where the combiner box might be, because it's got essentially the combiner box right on the bottom of the inverter, or set it up in a central location. And I want to show you a little bit about how we can kind of enable that. All of these inverters have no fuses in them because we never put more than two in parallel at each MPPT. So surge protection on both the DC and AC side, leakage current suppression, as well as AFCI on all of these inverters. Now, we call it intelligent AFCI because it can tell you what string it's on, not just what MPPT, it's what string it's on. I'll talk a little bit later about how you can, you can bring 20 strings to some of these inverters, right? But since there's two per MPPT, you can actually Y connect in the field and bring a single pair back, because each pair of terminals is capable of handling the full MPPT power. So that's interesting. But for me, I'm old school, so I like you to bring back all of the strings, because as I know, this AFCI alarm will tell you exactly what string it's on. And you just get better data that way. So anyway, this has been very effective through the years. We've had issues back in 2016 when I joined the company. We had some issues with our AFCI board. Of course, as I know, we build these. We have our own SMT and other machine to build these types of boards. However, through the years, we were really able to improve this circuit. It won't send you false alarms. The event actually has to occur in strong enough and long enough for it to actually register, and then this circuit will kind of wait to make sure that indeed that wasn't just something kind of offhand, and indeed we see it in the same place, then it sends you that alarm. So that's why we call it intelligent, because it doesn't just it doesn't scream every time it sees anything. So there's another component that goes along with this, and that's the what we call segmented DC switching. There's not just one switch on the bottom of our inverters, there's multiple switches. So you can kind of isolate that area with the AFCI problem while the rest of the inverter is re-energized. There's our 60K currently available 208 product. It indeed can work on a 240 Delta high leg solution transformer. And we are introducing a new 60K, essentially identical to what our 60K 480 box looks like, but this one's a setup for 208, just to reduce the number of boxes for you guys in the install. And both of these, as I know, 208 or 240, all type 4X, Staubli high amp contactors. You can see there's like on that little 30K or on that 60K, there's 8 inputs, and you can bring back just 4 strings if you wanted to by doubling them up with a Y connector in the field. Anyway, you get all the kinds of flexibility with these products, and I think that that's one of the top value propositions for this type of product. You can use it with whatever communication platform you like to use, whatever rapid shutdown solutions you may end up having to solve for. They can be used with these inverters. This happens to be our 480 line. You can see it also goes all the way down to 25K, up to 100K. But I think that, and these inverters, of course, can be used with a step-down transformer down to 208. But I think these are a little less popular probably than we see in this next set of inverters here that are at 1500, because this is all at 1000 volts. 480 high input, again, terminals on the bottom. And again, you can see those lockout, tagout DC switches. Kind of a unique feature. You also might see there's fans down there as well. These are just supplementary to blow over the heat sink. So if you are at, let's say, a 15-degree mount on some flat roof, these fans will come on when necessary. They don't run all the time, just when necessary. And should one fail, gets a lizard or some grass or something in there, it doesn't shut down the inverter, but you will get an alarm that one of the fans is down, and you can replace that at your leisure. Again, PV string level monitoring. And so rapid shutdown. Rapid shutdown isn't something that we've had to deal too much with in Canada. Here in the United States, we have to do module level rapid shutdown, and I'm worried that maybe this sort of thing will start to come to rooftops in Canada, but maybe we can leapfrog that and go right to a string level rapid shutdown solution. I want to show you here a little later, but this kind of thing, I know it shows rapid shutdown on module level, and it really isn't required in Canada at all, but it does show a little bit about the, let's say, flexibility we're seeing from these little companies that are starting up developing module level power electronics. NEP is a good example there, where they have a rapid shutdown unit, but they also have a module level monitoring, and they can kind of report the temperature of their devices and shut down if it gets too hot. These sorts of little extra things you get without having to install a big power supply or anything in these devices really kind of add some interest, I think, to the PV string level platform. UL3741. This is another underwriter laboratory certification that you can get for your PV systems. This is part of 690.12, rapid shutdown in the National Electrical Code. And it's allowing a different type of safety voltage. That is, many firemen have advocated for a very low safety voltage, and not really a deep understanding of what PV systems are. And this was the case all the way since 2008, when I first started looking at rapid shutdown and PV firemen and fireman safety around PV systems. We were seeing firemen just watch a house burn down because it had solar on the roof, and they didn't know if it was shut down or anything, or controlled in any way, and they didn't know where the wires were. So they started adding things into the code, arc fault and rapid shutdown, and these sorts of things to try to give the firemen some confidence that it's safe. You can go up there and you can work on the roofs of these homes. Uh, but the great thing about UL 3741 is that the firemen participated in the development of this new UL standard. And that means that not only does it include equipment for rapid shutdown of systems, but it also includes firefighter technique, and includes a kind of a PPE that they wear, and how does that protect them, if they're thrown down onto the array somehow. And so this is a breakthrough in solar. As Tatum mentioned, I've been in the business for a while, and really to have the firemen participating with us in the solar industry to provide better guidance for building solar power on buildings. This means that it's happening. It's happening, everyone. We're seeing the transition from solar, from oil and gas to solar as a baseline power source for our globe. And it starts with making sure that firefighters and first responders to systems like this on buildings are prepared. It's just a very exciting. I know it's kind of compliance insider baseball, I suppose, but it really, for the industry, I think it's very exciting. But I would temper your excitement a little bit if you want to deploy this type of strategy. It can indeed save you a lot of money, and there's thousands and thousands being saved here in the United States for systems that may have to include these module level power electronics. However, you can remove 8-9 cents from the system BOM by removing them. But some jurisdictions, especially in Canada, are not going to be familiar with this new UL standard yet, and so I think it's going to be a learning curve. But in my opinion, it's a move towards more reliability and safety, as I've always been a little bit troubled by putting mini laptops underneath our hot PV modules. But as I note, there's progress being made all throughout that, and as some of the systems that I referenced earlier that you can add to these PV string inverter systems are simpler devices, a little bit more heat sinking and better capabilities without adding a lot of componentry in there. improving reliability. So there's always new things happening in the industry. These are 1500-volt products, and we've been selling a lot to charge of these products because indeed they have low cost of install because there's no need for a secondary transformer, and of course they have all the requirements for rooftop installs and Type 4X, AFCI, etc. And so they've been well accepted, and we hope to continue that popularity and I hope confidence by your teams that this is a product that not only works, I can commission in 5 minutes, but if there's any issues, Solis is behind me. Low startup voltages and wide operating ranges. These sorts of things are also seen on our 480-volt product and the 208-volt product, I might add, and that makes them a little bit almost ideal for these repowering solutions. If you do have older systems that maybe the inverter is no longer serviced by that team here in Canada, and so you might need to put in a new one. Well, that's maybe a very good thing for the system owners there with all that trapped capital, essentially, all that fixed capital is just sitting there not producing any money. And you can put these kinds of inverters in there, adding the safety and the communications and the grid interoperability that all of these new inverters provide that the old inverters can't. And so you may be able to continue to pull money out of that system for that system owner there with a repowering solution using these inverters with the wide operating ranges. And I promote that because a lot of these sites already have interconnection agreements. They already have uptaker contracts and that sort of thing. And so, once you finish the job, that job may be able to get interconnected quite quickly, which means, of course, you get paid. You can set up these systems with power line communications. That is, we have a small box that can convert. Let me just say that these inverters come with a PLC transmitter board in them. And although there are many ways to connect to our communication board inside this inverter, you may want to save some money and not run any communication lines at all from these inverters and instead transfer the data via PLC. And we have a small box that can be installed near the point of common coupling, and it will take those PLC signals and convert them back to RS-485. So just another way to save a little money on these systems. Again, these bigger inverters also feature those segmented DC switching. You can see that little green circle there, maybe, unless you're watching this on your phone. It might be a little tiny, but in the top right-hand corner, the bottom of that inverter, there's a little 4-pin port, and you'll see that on all our inverters, all the way from the tiny 208 inverter up to this big 350. It's just a way for you to easily access a communication board in any Solis inverter. And you can tie in our little data loggers, plug-and-play data loggers, cellular. You can be up and running in a few minutes. Very convenient. Actually, I have a few installers that carry along a small data logger stick, a cellular data logger stick with them as a troubleshooting tool, because on some site that may be having some issues, they can just plug this in, tie into the local cellular tower, register it quickly on our SolisCloud, and see what's going on with that inverter. Just an interesting thing that, but I just wanted to tell you that you've got 3 other options. You can just remove that gray cover and tie into the board directly using a Cat5 cable. There's RJ45 jacks right on the COM board. And there's also terminals for a Belden type cable, solid core, 22 or 24 gauge, something like that. If you really want to carry data for a long distance, that's a nice way to go. And then the PLC, that's another nice way to go. So, 4 ways to get the data off of these inverters. And I might also mention that should there be any issue with that COM board, it's right inside of that gray box on the right-hand side there, and you can swap those out. So relatively easy. These are all, of course, certified to the latest interconnection standards and can be installed anywhere in Canada from Vancouver to Halifax. Yeah, so these wide operating ranges are useful. You can see that if you're kind of way outside the input voltage range, let's say power D rating at 55, 50 volts, very, very low, you can still pull 50% out of the inverter. But should you get into the voltage range, especially something over 860, you can pull full power out. So it's a real nice way to kind of replace those old AE inverters with a new solution that really can give you some optimal power output as well as good comms. So yeah, you can see this box is relatively small, size of a basketball, but the square basket, well, size of a bread box. uh, and it just converts. And you can see you can tie that's got one of those 4-pin ports, those communication ports right on the bottom there, and so you can pull the communications right off there. So it makes it super easy. You can Bluetooth into the device and set it up. So super easy. Now, another thing I wanted to mention concerning the flexibility of the PV string inverter platform is the capability to bundle them, to use a term from the telecommunications industry. So this is our AC combiner. This is a Solis product. This AC combiner, 1000 amp rated fuse switch on the front. Takes fuses, thank you. 800 at 1000 amp, or 800 amp at 630. There's a whole bunch of different varieties. I'm going to show you a piece here. You can really combine a bunch of inverters, 2, 3, 4 inverters all together into these into this AC combiner. It's just sort of you can get this AC combiner at other places, but Solis has made it easy for you to set up something like this, where you can use this AC combiner and a number of our inverters on a rack, and you can put that in front. Here's some more details on the capability of this product, the different CTs that are required. I'm sorry, not CTs, but different ways you can set up the system. And so what you want to put that piece in front of is your big skid that Solis has now. So you can set up these skids. They come in a 20-foot container, and you can just drop them right on a pad in a central location for the repowering array, let's say, or a new array. If the installers for that particular EPC are used to setting up centrals, we can actually use the modularity and reliability and extra MPPTs that you get with PV string inverters to create essentially a central inverter architecture. This happens to be our 4.2 meg medium voltage skid, but we can set these up for 2.7 or 3.3, using the 125s or the 185s in these. You don't necessarily need to wire this all up for 800 volts at 250 using our 255s or our 350 kilowatt inverters. You can use our 125s and 185s with that skid and combiners and set up a 600 volt central inverter solution. And indeed, that the objective here is to lower cost, increase margin for you guys. And if you can somehow, if you have that design optionality of setting it up either in the field as essentially a combiner box, in DC disconnect, inverter, and AC disconnect all in one place, and then run your long AC aluminum conductors over to your point of common coupling, you can do that. Or you can run a longer DC run at, let's say, 15, 14, 1300 volts. You can get some good small DC voltage drop across on a long runs over to a more centralized location where it might be easier for you to set it up. And of course, in these units, they have a whole rack for SCADA systems that you can set up and have all your monitoring essentially right there in one place. And the beauty of this kind of rack is that, if you have a problem with a string or an inverter, you might be able to actually segment a very small part of that inverter away from the rest of the skid, away from the other inverters in parallel, and essentially work on that part while having the rest of the entire system up. That's the advantage. You can get a regular guy C40 or C20, I'm sorry, C10 license here in the United States, and he can go out and repair these essentially central inverter solutions using the very modular PV string inverter approach. So that's the things I really wanted to bring forward on the product was the flexibility the platform has for you to use new module level power electronics to maybe close that sale on some particular little value proposition the customer is looking for, optimization or monitoring of the modules or whatever. Uh, and all of that data is going to come through these little devices here. Many of you are familiar with these Solis kind of unique little plug and play devices that fit onto that 4-pin port on the bottom, or and can give you that cellular or Wi-Fi or hardwire connection right to your local router or cellular tower. And I just want to mention that that the cellular chips here come with a 5-year or 10-year data plan, but that's for a single inverter. So if you're tying together 3 or 4 or 5 inverters, and you can daisy chain our inverters together quite easily. Up to 10, you can broadcast from this one cellular chip. But with that 10-year plan, you're probably only getting about 5 years out of those 5 inverters. That just know that the 10 years is based on data, not time. And if you put more inverters on a single stick, you'll get less time. So another way to go on that is just to order them without our chip and just put in your own. If there happens to be a Rogers Cellular chip, a 2-year plan that you can buy, you can put your own right into these cell sticks. So super versatile and easy to install. And they point all the data to our communication, our SolisCloud. Free data for you. You can set it for 5 minutes, and we like to say it promotes grid strategy. It does, because this is indeed a client aggregator. It is set up for Hydro-Quebec or any of these utility operators or aggregators. They can now set up a secure server and then send messages to our cloud, and our cloud will then command the inverters to perform a certain way. And I really want to get you guys excited about this, because right now I'm talking with a guy, Matt. He works at PPL. This is Pennsylvania Power and Light, and Pennsylvania Power and Light is running a system with about 1,000 installations, and they're calling it a commanded system rather than an automated system, because you have to remember that what we have today is kind of an automated system. These inverters are capable of really, being commanded locally with the SolisCloud. I'm sorry, right at the inverter with the buttons, or remotely with SolisCloud. They can be commanded like this. But a lot of these utility companies are asking us to put on a second little communication dongle on there to kind of ease this transition that they're making to these new servers. And as I note, PPL down there in the United States is for the first time running their own server to command systems within their network. So it's coming, folks. It's coming, where we're really going to have interoperability with the utilities. I know you guys can't, some of you just can't believe it, that these utilities will ever participate, with these systems, but I really do believe it's coming. And I just wanted to, just note that the cloud is quite comprehensive, and you can manage huge fleets of inverters using just that one platform. So with that, I wanted to just open it up to questions and hear if anybody's got something to say about what you've heard so far, or about maybe visiting my factory there. Jason, we got anybody who wants to?
Well, I'll come visit. I've been answering most of the simple questions. There is one that I've gotten twice and haven't answered. People are asking if any of the large inverters, like the 600-volt units, can you combine PV strings and external combiner and bring a single string to the inverter?
No.
No.
So yeah, we have used what we used to call a 125K1, and indeed it had a single MPPT and was designed for systems that wanted to use combiners. We had some success with that, but we have discontinued that. But as I know, Jason, we are the manufacturer, so if we're hearing enough call for the product, then it's something that we've manufactured in the past.
Yeah, so I believe the problem is we have the province of Manitoba has a head electrical inspector, who is refusing to use or allow the use of inverters that are not listed as combiners to combine strings of modules. So even though the inverter is of course approved and certified, it comes with the instruction manual on how to connect multiple strings. The entire province of Manitoba is not allowed to do that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
bizarre, yeah.
Well, then that's a problem for Solis. We could.
It's technically a problem for everyone. The architecture of inverters is going the direction that Solis went, not the opposite.
Well, we could, with you, if you'd like, with Charge, we could put together a letter. That's what I can do to explain. It's not so much a combiner box as a circuit. Yeah, we'd have to word something out. Yeah, we might make an attempt anyway at it.
Yeah, we could pick a project and try to push them a little bit. Another question came in. Can you please clarify when a customer should order the WL 4-pin dongle versus the WL USB dongle?
Always order the 4-pin. And so that's the simple answer. The USB is only usable on the hybrid inverter, our residential hybrid inverter that we're kind of introducing that USB port to be a more versatile port than the 4-pin port that only fits our dongles. And there's some, let's say, security benefits to that 4-pin port, being kind of exclusive. And maybe some security issues with having a common USB port to tap into our communication board. So, but we think that there's also some benefits to having some kind of USB, secure USB port on the bottom of the inverter that also acts as the external port for our little our communication dongles. So we're kicking it around right now, but the simple answer is 4-pin for everything.
Perfect. One more, a couple of them I answered via text, but Sean has asked, what does Terrence mean when he mentions grid interoperability? Can we use external non-Solis controls with the inverter, control any parameters, on-off functions, etc. through RS-45?
Yes, you can do that. And it's not, as I note, we're not quite to interoperability yet. What I mean by interoperability is that the grid operator is utilizing and hopefully staying out of the way of and capitalizing on the storage and PV power capabilities to stabilize the grid. Their goal, of course, is to stabilize voltage and hertz rate and power supply and maintain their lines so they're not overloaded or something like that. And so inverters are pretty good at hertz rate support. Utilities are pretty good at voltage support, but there's other issues that may come along with all the storage online. There may be some real, let's say, advantages to the utility by having this instantaneous capability to call up a bunch of power right out of the customers and batteries. And so stability of the grid could be improved by interoperability between the utility suppliers and the DER, the distributed energy resources that are being managed by the DERMS, DERMS, DER management systems. And that's what that commanded system is happening at PPL. They would call that a DERM, DERMS. And so that's what I mean by interoperability. And as an inverter manufacturer, we have to ensure that our inverters are capable of ride through, for example, of a certain duration and a certain depth, both of hertz and voltage, so that we're not clicking off at any variability in the grid. This is interoperability. Our ability to inject reactive power or accept power. These sorts of things are interoperable capabilities that we had to add to our inverters to get the 1547 2018 certification for interconnection. That's what I mean by interoperability.
Perfect. And just, a little more as well. We are using some of these inverters in like microgrid situations, right? So let's say I'm operating in parallel with a diesel generator and my load lowers to a point where I'm going to wet stack or underrun the gen or even reverse power it. I am going to command just via Modbus to the inverters. But these are devices you need some kind of programmable logic controller, and of course somebody who can program and write the logic. It's not all that third-party equipment is not a plug and play or a device that you can just buy. We had another question I believe I answered, but we should just repeat it here. What's the process for non-SB inverters already deployed in the market to convert to SB approved models? Is it hardware, software, or both? My answer was all inverters on the Solis card currently have 1741 SB or the most recent. But any other thoughts or comments on that?
Yeah, we had to stop producing the SA inverters because they just weren't accepted in so many jurisdictions anymore. And so, indeed, there's some jurisdictions, parts of Michigan actually will still accept SA inverters, but we're transitioning over. And it's that interoperability and communication ability, the ability to be commanded from the SolisCloud, these sorts of things, to accept a certain number of commands. For example, you have to be able right now under 1547 to be able to accept at least a command or one or two commands per day. If you get this CSIP, common smart inverter profile certification, you can accept as many as 24 commands. And so this is where I think it's going. And as Jason notes, it's going to be hard to duplicate that sort of interoperability outside the inverter. As we've been working for years to try to get it to do exactly what our cloud tells it to do.
Perfect. Jeff actually just wanted me to mention that most of the products you've seen today from I don't think we looked at the residential lines, but the residential starts at what, a 3 something kilowatt, 240 volt AC output, all the way up through the 30 kilowatt 12208 output, right up to the 185 600 volt AC output. We now have stock available in Victoria, Calgary, Barrie, and Halifax. Just let everybody know.
Yeah, we're going to be doing this again. We're going to be doing this again with the Charge team, going to on residential products too, because we're very excited to show the team some residential stuff. So Tatum, we might have some news on when we're going to go over some residential product too, huh?
Yes, that's coming up on July 9th. So stay tuned for that. And a big thank you to you, Terrence, for providing a very informative presentation. Thank you to everybody who joined us today. And as mentioned earlier on the recording, the recording of today's session will be shared with all of you within the week. And yes, we hope to see you all at the next Residential Focus Solis webinar on July 9th.
Oh, really hope to see y'all. Yeah, that was fun for me. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Tatum. That was we just love visiting with the Charge crowd, and we really want to tell you a little bit about our Resi stuff that's coming up here too. And please pull up any questions you might have about any of the product line that Charge is offering. It's really our complete products from our smallest inverters to our largest. So look forward to interacting with y'all. See ya.
When is the 600 volt 250 coming out?
Oh, we got it right on. We got it on the roadmap. I'll give you some dates for that.
Perfect.
We're excited about it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Terrence. We'll see you soon.
Sure
Cheers,
will.
everybody.
See you,
Take
everybody.
care.